when he knocked down Thurman in that fight, I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This guy's 40 years old and still can crack and still as fast as lightning.
He's a legend of the sport.
He is a legend, and he's
the guard during that sequence. The guard during that sequence. He's still there. He's the right hand of Mario Barrios trying to establish. Everyone move!
Joe Rogan didn't hold back while watching Manny Pacquiao's comeback against Mario Barrios. With just 3 words, he got robbed. Rogan slammed the judges, and honestly, he's not alone. Fans are furious, legends are speaking out, and the boxing world is still arguing over how a 46-year-old Pacquiao could outwork a younger champion for 12 rounds, only to walk away with a draw. So, what did Rogan see that the judges didn't? Let's break it down. The MGM Grand Garden Arena was electric on July 19th as Manny Pacquiao stepped back into the ring after 4 years away to face Mario Barrios, a champion 15 years younger and holding the WBC welterweight title. Everything about this fight felt like a storybook moment. Pacquiao was supposed to be the aging legend, here for one last nostalgic haircut from the opening bell. He fought like it was 2010 again. His footwork was still lightning fast. His hands still snapped Barrios' head back with those famous straight lefts. The crowd erupted every time Manny cornered Barrios, chanting his name after every flurry. Meanwhile, Barrios stayed cautious, relying on his jab and hoping to exploit Pacquiao's age. But round after round, that strategy failed. Pacquiao dominated the middle rounds, outlanding Barrios in power punches, walking him down and showing he still had the hunger of a world champion. By the final bell, it felt unanimous Manny had done enough. He smiled, raised his hands, and soaked in the roar. But then the judges announced a majority draw, and everything changed. Boos echoed through the arena, and hashtags like #PACQUIAO robbed exploded online. Fighters around the world tore into the scorecards, and that's where Joe Rogan comes in. Watching from his studio, Rogan's reaction went viral. His blunt take filled with shock and disbelief perfectly captured what millions of fans were feeling. According to Rogan, this wasn't just a close fight. Pacquiao clearly won, and the judges blew it. So now, let's dive into Rogan, break down what he got right, and why his reaction has the entire boxing world talking. From the opening bell, the contrast in styles was clear. Manny Pacquiao bounced lightly on his toes, his head constantly moving, feinting, darting in and out like a man decades younger. Mario Barrios, by contrast, stayed tall, cautious, and methodical on his jab to keep Manny at bay. Round 1 was a typical feeling out process, but Pacquiao's speed immediately stood out. He slipped under Barrios' jab, darted inside, and landed 2 quick left hands before pivoting out of range. The crowd erupted every time he found an opening, chanting his name like a battle cry, urging him to keep pressing forward.
One shot like that, right.
And he went for the second one, and here it is again. Getting desperate.
By round 2, Pacquiao had fully settled into his rhythm. He targeted Barrios' body with short hooks, mixing in crisp straight lefts upstairs. Barrios stuck to his jab-heavy strategy, but his hesitation to engage allowed Manny to dictate the tempo. The real show began in rounds 3 and 4, when Pacquiao's legendary footwork came alive, circling left and right, cutting sharp angles to set up clean, fluid combinations. A massive exchange in round 4 brought the arena to its feet as Manny cornered Barrios and unleashed a 5-punch flurry that landed clean before Barrios could tie him up. Rounds 5 through 8 were vintage Pacquiao at his best. He walked Barrios down with relentless pressure, throwing 3- and 4-punch combinations, mixing body shots with sharp left straights that snapped Barrios' head back. Statistically, this was where Manny built his lead. Most of his 81 power punches landed during this dominant stretch. Barrios spent much of these rounds on the back foot, constantly forced to reset under the weight of Pacquiao.
That body shot there with a left from Manny Pacquiao to the solar plexus of Mario.
But Barrios wasn't going to roll over. In round 9, he finally made adjustments and increased his output. Even when many of his punches were blocked, Barrios stayed busier, circling, jabbing, and doing just enough to disrupt Manny's rhythm. By rounds 10 through 12, Barrios had fully committed to a late rally, doubling up on his jab and letting his hands go in flurries that, while not always clean, appeared active enough to catch the judge's attention.
That was a combination of punches, a flurry. 1, 2, 1, 2, boom. 4, 1, 2, and he's going straight back, Mario Barrios. But
Pacquiao's reaction was telling. Always the gentleman. He nodded respectfully and clapped for Barrios, but a flash of disappointment crossed his eyes. Later, he calmly stated that he believed he had won, while still giving credit to Barrios for being tough. Barrios, lifting his belt with a composed expression, thanked Pacquiao and the fans, saying he believed he'd done enough to win. But the boos raining down made it clear the audience strongly disagreed. Commentators at ringside exchanged baffled looks as the crowd's outrage grew louder. Many questioned how Barrios' lateral flurries could possibly outweigh Pacquiao's cleaner, harder shots from earlier in the fight. For fans in attendance, it didn't matter how close the numbers looked. The eye test told a very different story. Online, the backlash was instant. Hashtags like hashtag PACQUIAO, robbed, and hashtag boxing corruption began trending within minutes. Clips of Pacquiao's sharp combinations and Barrios backing up flooded Twitter and Instagram. Accompanied by captions like "This was Manny's fight," and "How is this a draw?" What should have been remembered as one of the greatest comebacks in modern boxing was instantly overshadowed by controversy. And that's when Joe Rogan's name started popping up everywhere, because if there's one person who doesn't hold back when he sees a fighter get robbed, it's Rogan.
Almost fighting on even terms here with Barrios. Oh, what a nice right from Barrios, but the answer from Manny Pacquiao. If they are in the center of the ring, and if Dickie said Manny Pacquiao,
When the final bell rang, Pacquiao smiled and raised his gloves, confident he had done enough. The crowd echoed his belief, chanting his name as Barrios stood quietly in his corner, breathing heavily. Most watching felt Manny's dominance in the middle rounds had sealed the win. Nobody expected such a performance at his age, after a 4-year layoff. Nearly going toe-to-toe with a younger champion like it was 2010 again. But the energy inside the MGM Grand shifted the moment the scorecards were read. What had been a night of nostalgia and excitement instantly turned into shock and frustration. Fans who had cheered Pacquiao's every punch stood frozen, trying to process what they'd just heard, then erupted into boos that echoed through the arena. A majority draw, 2 judges scored it 114 to 114, and one gave Barrios a narrow 115-113 edge, allowing him to retain his WBC welterweight title. For a crowd that watched Pacquiao dominate much of the middle rounds, it felt like a gut punch. Chants of Manny filled the air again, but this time, it wasn't celebration. It was
majority draw. And of course, in that case, the champion retains.
The outrage wasn't just emotional, it was unanimous. Fighters, analysts, and fans across the world agreed on one thing: Manny Pacquiao should have had his hand raised that night. Former world champion Sean Porter, known for his measured takes, didn't hesitate to label the judging incompetent, explaining in post-fight coverage that Pacquiao clearly dictated the pace, landed the cleaner, more impactful shots, and had Barrios backing up for much of the bout. Porter emphasized that a champion shouldn't be rewarded for merely surviving 8 rounds before ramping up the action. Veteran boxing journalist Dan Rafael was even more scathing, calling the decision absolutely awful and a complete disgrace. His words went viral, shared by thousands of frustrated fans who felt robbed of what should have been Pacquiao's triumphant return. Even active fighters spoke up. Devin Haney simply tweeted, "Pacquiao should have won," and his timeline, filled with retweets from other pros echoing the same. Unofficial scorecards overwhelmingly favored Pacquiao, with most showing 115 to 113, or even 116 to 112, while almost no one outside the official judges had it a draw. On Reddit's Our Boxing, one top comment read, "Barrios was so tentative all night, Manny should have won that fight at 46. Another said Pacquiao pressed the action. Barrios spent half the fight backing up. Social media exploded with slow-motion edits of Pacquiao slipping jabs and landing clean left straights, racking up millions of views with captions like, "And this is a draw," or "Boxing did Manny dirty tonight." Inside the MGM Grand, frustration mirrored the online. Fury boos echoed long after the final bell, with fans still chanting Manny, Manny, during Barrios' post-fight interview. For many, this wasn't just a bad decision, it felt like a stolen moment in boxing history. A 46-year-old legend proving he still belonged among the elite, only to be denied by suspect scoring. And that's where Joe Rogan's reaction hit, like a thunderclap. Known for his blunt honesty and passion for combat sports, Rogan voiced what millions were already thinking: Manny Pacquiao got robbed.
Manny Pacquiao is a legend, I think it was a draw.
Do you want to see him back in the ring after this?
I think he's ages already, When you get older, his body gets tired, so I think he is already.
Are you confident with that jaw? What do you think?
I think I get to go on the next one. Let me get Barrios that.
So let's move on to it. But you'll be 47 by the time you step into the ring.
I mean, that's the thing. Age is not on his side, so he's a legend. He can do whatever he wants. He wants to go get back in there and get a world title. He can do it.
Yo, man, Pacquiao won that shit.
Yeah? Pacquiao won that. I had it 9-2. Well, no, wait. I always wrong with these numbers. 10-2. I had 10-2. Well, you know what? 9-3. I always have it wrong with these numbers.
What you think about the fight? Why did you win?
Velocity, like the amount of punches that were connecting.
We've seen Manny on the end of bad decisions before. Timothy Bradley, excuse me. Jeff Horn fight, you know, and shout out to Tim. I know how you feel about that.
All right.
But this is what he's got to deal with. You can't go through a camp, do what you just did right there. We saw all of everything that we've always seen from Manny, and this is the result. Shout out to Mario. He made the fight difficult.
Posting their own unofficial scorecards, nearly all favoring Pacquiao 115-113, even 116-112 on some cards. Few, if any, gave the fight to Barrios, and almost no one saw a draw as justifiable. Social media lit up with outrage, with slow-motion replays of Pacquiao's clean left hands and ring control flooding tie-ins. The MGM Grand crowd mirrored that outrage. Boos erupted, fans shouted at judges, and chants of Manny. Manny turned from celebration to protest. For many, this wasn't just a bad decision, it was a moment that struck at the heart of boxing's credibility. The legend came back, defied age, outboxed a champion and still got robbed. Fans and fighters alike posted their unofficial with most showing Pacquiao ahead 115-113, and some even scoring at 116-112. Few sided with Barrios, and almost no one believed the fight was a draw. Footage of Pacquiao commanding the ring, cornering Barrios and landing sharp left straights circulated widely, with slow-motion replays emphasizing every clean, effective punch. The crowd's reaction inside the arena reflected the online outrage. Loud boos erupted as the decision was announced. Chants of Manny, Manny, echoed long after the belts were awarded. Fans shouted angrily at the judges' table, and others stood in disbelief, shaking their heads. It was a level of backlash, rarely seen, a visceral response that only happens when a vast majority feel something has gone deeply wrong. Social media turned into a storm of anger and disbelief, with hashtags like #PACQUIAO, robbed trending across platforms. But to many, this wasn't just about one fighter, it was about what these nights are meant to represent. Moments like this are supposed to honor greatness, not erase it. And for millions watching around the world, the conclusion was clear. Manny Pacquiao.
Pacquiao 4 rounds, Barrios, everything else. Yeah, that's all I'm seeing.
When the emotions fade, the question becomes clear. What do the official rules of boxing say about who should have won? Based on scoring criteria: clean punching, effective aggression, defense, and ring generalship, most analysts agree Manny Pacquiao came out on top, while Mario Barrios threw and landed more total punches, 122, Pacquiao's 101. Most of his output came from light jabs that lacked power and failed to shift the momentum. Pacquiao, by contrast, landed 81 power punches to Barrios' 75, including sharp left straights, body hooks, and counters that visibly snapped Barrios' head. Back punches that matter most under scoring guidelines. Judges are expected to prioritize quality and impact over raw volume, and by that standard, Pacquiao had the edge. From rounds 3 to 8, Pacquiao clearly controlled the ring-cutting angles, walking Barrios down and dictating the exchanges, while Barrios spent most of that stretch backing into corners or covering up. Effective aggression was all Pacquiao. He blended footwork, head-body combinations, and timing to break Barrios' rhythm. While Barrios surged late from rounds 9 to 12, much of it landed on gloves or missed, and experienced observers argued that volume alone shouldn't outweigh earlier dominance. Even Barrios' own fans admitted he gave away too many early rounds. Sean Porter challenged the notion that a fighter can cruise for half the bout and win on late activity alone. Don Rafael agreed, stating the judges seemed to reward busyness over effectiveness. Across the board, unofficial scorecards from fighters and commentators overwhelmingly favored Pacquiao, 5, 3, or even 116-112, with very few seeing any case for a draw or Barrios win. Most scored the fight for Barrios, and almost no one had it a draw. Yet by every major scoring criterion, Pacquiao seemed to have done enough. The majority draw wasn't just surprising, it felt like the judges ignored what actually wins rounds in boxing. But beyond the scorecards, the bigger story is what this fight means for Manny Pacquiao's legacy. Controversial decision or not, what he achieved at 46 years old might be one of the most impressive performances of his legendary career. Pacquiao didn't just prove he could still compete, he proved he could dominate, pushing a younger, taller, world-class champion backward for 8 rounds, and landing the cleaner, sharper punches that had fans chanting his name like it was 2010. While most fighters his age are retired or fighting exhibitions, Pacquiao stepped into a real championship bout and outclassed an elite opponent with timing, speed, and ring IQ that defied his age. This fight was meant to be a farewell, a nostalgic glimpse of the past, but instead, it became a powerful reminder of why Pacquiao is considered one of the greatest of all time. Even in a draw, he showed flashes of greatness that many thought were long gone for countless fans. The result doesn't diminish his legacy, it enhances it. A fighter who can go toe-to-toe with elite competition at nearly 50 doesn't just earn respect, he cements his mythos. The post-fight question wasn't, is Manny done? It was, how is Manny still this good? Barrios may have kept his belt, but Pacquiao walked out with something even more valuable: the admiration of fans who already believed in him, and the respect of critics who now see him as a timeless icon.